Welcome to Slice Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both the Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
Hello everyone, welcome live to 3Wide TV, tonight's broadcast of the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. Too Tough to Tame 100 here from the Darlington Raceway. 74 laps, 100 miles around this famed egg-shaped oval. Should be a lot of fun here tonight with these 1987 cars. And Greg, a little bit of a throwback racetrack here for the throwback cars. I know Darlington is one of those racetracks that is written itself into NASCAR folklore for many, many years to come. Of course, this was the first ever racetrack to be dubbed a super speedway. We're going to see a lot of fast speeds here tonight.
Absolutely, Peter. It's a sprint race, too. Only 74 laps the distance tonight. Kind of a short one on broadcast standards here, but drivers are looking forward to a chance to take these cars out for a date with the Lady in Black, which is what this track has been known as for many, many years. And Peter, this is such a technical racetrack, unlike any other track on the iRacing server, and that makes it a favorite among the racers, and not just the American Sim Racing Series, but on the iRacing server in general. If you're an oval driver in this circuit, you love coming here to Darlington. We come into Darlington with this as your current point standings. As you see on screen, Stephen Hollingsworth leading the way, 25 points over a tie between Will Worsler Racing teammates Tyler Seville and Jason Stewart. But Peter, look at the man in seventh. You notice 2 checkered flags. That's because Doug Mullins, 2 wins in a row, the only repeat winner in this series this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Doug Mullins, in fact, he's on a little bit of a winning streak here, winning at Atlanta and the Glen 2 weeks ago. Twists and turns at the Glen was a lot of fun, Greg. It's great to see these 87 cars wheel around the road course up in upstate New York. If you guys missed that one, make sure you go check that one out, because they ran the old school Watkins Glen configuration without the bus stop. And really, Mullins was able to pull away late in that one and walk away with a win. There you can see it on your screen. So Mullins gets his second consecutive win here in the Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series, but can't keep an eye out for Tyler Seville, sitting in second right now, right there on your screen. That's your results from back at Watkins Glen. Seville comes into tonight 25 markers behind Stephen Hollingsworth, who also sat on the podium at Watkins Glen. He has that 25-point advantage, which is a pretty good cushion here, Greg. But you and I know pretty much anything can and will happen in racing.
Absolutely, Peter. And those top 3 in the points, Hollingsworth, Seville, and Worsler, are your top 3 on the charts in practice. And Peter, those 3 drivers are separated by 4 1,000ths of a second between the 3 of them. You got Stephen Hollingsworth, who's got a new look on board his Chevy Monte Carlo tonight. We'll show him in qualifying momentarily. He's a fast time, 29.910. Then you got the Will Worsler teammates, Tyler Seville and Will Worsler, 1 1,000th apart. Seville, a 9.13. Worsler, a 9.14. And then you got the inaugural winner of this series, Alan Young, back in the mix for his first start since his win at North Wilkesboro. He's 4th at a 29.951. So good to have Alan Young, the inaugural winner of the series, back in the field here tonight Looks like we got 13 cars as one just unloaded off the hauler at the end of practice. He's going to barely make it in for qualifying, that being the number 31 of Jordan Berry. Peter, we move into our qualifying session, and there you see the man we talked about in a tie for second in points, a win at Pocono earlier this season, where, of course, we're talking about Will Worsler in the number 29.
Yeah, and there he is coming out onto the racetrack. Now, folks, you're going to want to get as much out of these tires on lap number 1 of qualifying as you can, because this racetrack, not only is it called the track too tough to tame, well, you got to tame them Goodyear tires. This racetrack notorious for tire wear, especially on the right front. Turn number 1, a very, very fast sweeping left-hander here. You are almost flat out, and Will Worsler, there he is. He's not being all too kind to those Goodyear tires. He's going to back it off, going to try again, return to his pit stall, and rewind, try and get things wound back up for his second attempt. He will only get one flying lap. Here is the number 231 machine of Larry Orn going off into turn number 3 and 4, and watch him drift out towards the wall. We're going to see that a lot here tonight. That's the Darlington line. Greg, we're going to see a lot of these drivers get a Darlington stripe. You just don't want to get that Darlington stripe in qualifying.
And you especially don't want to get it early in the race, because remember, no fast repairs in the American Sim Racing Series, Peter. So you get that Darlington stripe, you've got it for the rest of the day, much like the regular Cup Series. You take a look at Ed Bray in the number 66. He's got Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson on board. The title series on the hood of Ed Bray, who's second on the charts at a 31.038, excuse me. Larry Orn in, we've called it the Ford Lumina. We love seeing it. He is quick time right now, but there is the guy second in points in a tie for second. He was second on the charts in practice. Quick time now as he knocks Larry Orn off. That, of course, is Tyler Seville in the number 11.
So all eyes now going to be on Stephen Hollingsworth, your current points leader tonight, showing that Jim Stacy, number 2 machine. We'll have to see. There's the number 29 machine of Will Worsler. He's going to jump to second on the board in that number 29 machine, so he was able to head back to pit road. And here is the 18 of Doug Mullins trying to go for 3 in a row in this series. He only has 4 starts to his credit. There have been 6 races this year in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series. And that man right there, the only driver to go to victory lane more than once. Your other winners have been Alan Young, who started off the season with a win back at North Wilkesboro. Hollingsworth then won the Charlotte 125. Yazik won the Firecracker 125. Brian, unfortunately, not in tonight's field. And then Will Worsler picking up the win at Pocono in the Tricky Triangle 125 until Mullins got his 2 back-to-back wins. There's a 41 of T.N.T. Could we see another car in victory lane here tonight? That's not how you do it, though, folks. Scraping the right side off that number 41 machine. Meanwhile, Stephen Hollingsworth in the number 2 machine. And that is the Jim Stacy number 2 machine. Of course, Jim Stacy, one of the NASCAR team owners back in the day. He's going to come across the start-finish line here. There he is. There's the crowd. And pretty good crowd on hand here tonight for the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson. And speaking about crowd, how about all of the cheers going on for that man right there? Stephen Hollingsworth has put the 202 on the provisional pole for now with just over 6 minutes left in this qualifying session. Big shout out to our chat here tonight. We got Aunt Kathy in the chat, as well as Alexander Vaughn. Hopefully you guys are having a good night. Going to be keeping an eye on the chat here tonight. Tyler Henley saying Hollingsworth better be wearing a race while he is driving, social distancing together at home. There might be an inside joke on that one, not 100% sure, but Tyler, sit back and enjoy the show here tonight on 3Y TV. But Greg, should be a good race, a kind of a quick race like you mentioned, only 100 miles around this place. So this one, if it goes caution-free, it will go by pretty much in a hurry.
The thing is, though, Peter, it's Darlington, so caution-free at Darlington's kind of asking a lot here, especially with these throwback cars. Remember when Brian Yazik won in Daytona, he described driving these cars as kind of wrestling a greased-up pig, and that is amplified here at Darlington. You've got so little room to work with because of where you have to run the track, where the racing groove is, right up on the wall. And when this track was built, they originally thought they were going to run down on the yellow line like every other track, but drivers found out very quickly that with the progressive banking at Darlington, this is kind of Project Zero, when it comes for progressive banking. They found that the fastest way was right up against the wall, but you run the risk, like we talked about, of the Darlington stripe, which has become synonymous in the Darlington Raceway folklore. And Peter, there's no more cars on track at the moment. 10 cars have taken time. 13 in the session. Jordan Berry, Lee Staples, and Richard Fletcher have yet to qualify. But let's talk a little bit about the egg shape of this racetrack. Very unique. The only one of its kind here on the iRacing server. And the reason of that is because when they were designing the track all the way back in the 1950s, the minnow pond off the back straightaway, which was at the time the front straightaway, owner of that pond was not willing to let them go out and ruin the pond, so they had to work around it, and that gives this track its unique shape and the character that we love so much today.
Yeah, definitely this racetrack is very unique. And we have seen certain tracks like Texas Motor Speedway that have tried to make kind of a pseudo Darlington with one end of the racetrack being different than the other. Folks, it hasn't worked. There is nothing you can do to beat this racetrack in terms of uniqueness. This racetrack's so fast in turn number 1 and 2. I mean, you and I know, Greg, in turn number 1 and 2, especially in the first few laps, these drivers will just be blipping the throttle. But then as the race goes on, they're definitely going to have to lift a lot more in 1 and 2. But turn number 3 and 4, a lot of brake. You barely use the brake, even at the end of the run in turn number 1 and 2. But turn number 3 and 4, you really have to get on the binders. And these 1987 cars don't exactly like to slow down because of those old brakes that they have on them, not quite up to the modern day standards. There you can see that, well, a little bit messy geometry for the suspension with all those wires and all that, and definitely a lot cleaner in modern day cars, but very cool to see that here. We'll also probably see brake rotors glowing because, yes, those brakes, they're not like the modern day brakes. These things glow red hot, and it is pretty cool to see. We got Chris Bouchard in the chat saying hi. How's it going, Chris? Hopefully all your preparations for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series here in a couple weeks' time are going well. You're going to kind of have a Hail Mary of sorts to make it into the next round of the playoffs. That, of course, will be not on Tuesday night. It'll be a week from Tuesday where we go to the Charlotte Roval to close out the round of 12 for the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series here in the American Sim Racing Series. Checker Flag PC saying Jason Stewart in the Del McCower throwback tonight. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great looking ride. I'm sure we'll see it here on the broadcast. And Nikki Warsler rooting on Will Warsler Racing. We've got Will Warsler, Doug Mullins, and Tyler Seville in the field here tonight, as well as the 43 of Fletcher. So I didn't see that Richard Fletcher was also in this session. So a good contingency here tonight from the Will Warsler Racing team.
Yeah, it looks like they got 4 of the 5 normal drivers that they field in the Tuesday night Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, only leaving out Craig Stykes. So I think we need to start a petition to get Craig Stykes in one of these throwback races. Only 4 left on the season. All 4, of course, will be right here on 3 Wide TV. But 4 more opportunities. I think we need to start the petition to get Craig Stykes out here in a throwback race so Will Warsler Racing can have all 5 of their usual drivers in the mix here tonight. But Peter, looks like qualifying is just about wrapping up. Just over a minute left in the session, and neither Barry, Staples, or Fletcher have even presented to the grid, so they will not get a qualifying time as there is not enough time. So that will wrap it up as Stephen Hollingsworth gets the pole here tonight in the number 2. He's going to be number 202 on your ticker, but he is the current points leader, has a win at Charlotte, and here he is, a pole at the historic Darlington Raceway.
Yeah, and that is a Tim Richmond throwback and that Jim Stacy machine here tonight. Of course, we typically see Stephen Hollingsworth running the Folgers Tim Richmond throwback. So I love seeing these throwback race cars on, throwback paint scheme, I should say, on these throwback race cars. It definitely kind of adds to the aesthetic. Jordan Berry struggling possibly with some issue, not 100% sure. He keeps bouncing back and forth into the server, and currently he just dropped out of the server for now, so he will have to hurry back in time because there's only 12 seconds left before the checker flag falls here on the qualifying session. Alexander Vaughn rooting on Larry Orn here tonight, saying, betting the mortgage on Orn? Well, I'll tell you what, I don't know if I'd do that necessarily. That is definitely some sure man on, or sure bet, I should say, on Larry Orn in that number 231 machine. But there you got to see a quick glimpse of the Darlington Raceway from high atop this great spot in South Carolina. Darlington, South Carolina is a really gorgeous part of the United States. But I'll tell you what is also gorgeous here tonight, Greg. We got race cars out in the racetrack.
Race cars at Darlington Raceway, Peter. This is one of the greatest sites on the planet, and we got 13 of them registered, 12 of them on grid right now. We're waiting on Jordan Berry, but let's take him through the starting lineup. And as we talked about, it was Stephen Hollingsworth and that new look Jim Stacy, number 2, on the pole with Tyler Seville, who's tracking him down in points, looking for his first win in this series. Going to come tonight at Darlington. He's outside pole. Seville's car owner, Will Wursler, will roll off inside row number 2, tied in points with that man, Seville. To his outside, the inaugural winner of this series, Alan Young, in the number 24. Larry Orn, we've talked about him over the course of the series in the Ford Lumina in the Dale Earnhardt throwback, 2-3-1. He rolls off 5th with 2-time series winner Doug Mullins, looking for 3 in a row, entering a very tricky Darlington Raceway tonight. You've got Ed Bray in the number 66 Boswell Country Roads. Harley Davidson on board the number 66 as well. Another Dale Earnhardt throwback to his outside. That's T.N.T in the number 41. Rounding out the top 10, Peter, will be Jason Stewart in the number 1. And we know he's not afraid to roll the dice with some strategy. And another Dale Earnhardt throwback. This one, the Wheaties Chevy of A.J. Green, Peter.
Yeah, that number 3 machine looking very, very sporty here tonight. Love that Wheaties number 3 machine. Starting in the inside of row number 6 will be the number 43 of Richard Fletcher. And to his outside was going to be the number 31 of Jordan Berry. Not 100% sure what's up there. I think Berry is going to be starting at the tail end of the field. So starting on the outside of row number 6 is the 26 of Lee Staples, the step tire machine. And then, like I mentioned, starting shotgun on the field here tonight, the number 31 machine of Jordan Berry. AJ Digby in the chat rooting on the Will Wursler Racing Team. Jason Huffman here saying the 231 gonna rock this track. I'll tell you what, Larry Orn, Greg, had some big support last week or 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen, and looks like he's already got some supporters in the field here tonight, so pretty cool to see that. Hopefully you guys can enjoy the broadcast every single lap here for all 100 miles from the Darlington Raceway. Darlington, South Carolina. This is a unique racetrack in the fact that it is not a mile, it's not a mile and a half, it's somewhere in between, 1.36 miles to be exact in length, and we are about to go green flag. The number 2 machine, Stephen Hollingsworth, up front, trying to lead us down to the green flag, waiting on the flagman to drop it. And there we go, green flag in the air here at Darlington Raceway. Great start for Stephen Hollingsworth.
Great start for Hollingsworth. Tyler Seville, some connection issues on your second place points driver. Tyler Seville in the number 11, blinking out of the session, not back in yet. There he is, just coming back, so we'll keep an eye on that early in this one. Tyler Seville, second in points, qualified second, connection issues early.
Yeah, and that has actually allowed that 202 machine of Hollingsworth to jump out to a pretty big advantage here. Now, one thing I was noticing in practice was these cars are pretty tricky to drive. T.N.T in the number 41 machine already picking up his Darlington stripe. That's not what you want to have happen on lap number 1. Larry Orn in the 231 machine, also a little bit of a fishtail in turn number 1 and 2. Alan Young is up to 4th, but a caution flag is out. And we got a couple of cars around in turn number 1 and 2, including Fletcher and Jordan Berry, it appears. There's a lot of damage to the back end of the 31.
Taking a look at the 3Y TV replay, what happened here? Starting lap number 2, there you see Berry in the 31, getting up in the wall. And Richard Fletcher, I don't know if he got any piece of that, but he definitely had to slide on the binders to avoid it. Let's see if we can go on board. This is on board with Fletcher in the number 43. You see up there, Berry in front of him. You see he's just going to catch the ball right there, and that just shows you just how quick you have to react here at Darlington. And Fletcher did an amazing job there, Peter. Not only keep it off of Berry, who was spinning, he did a great job keeping off the inside wall there as well.
Man, I don't know if you could put a CD in between the wall of that number 43 machine. Fletcher was so close to the wall, but there you can see that the number 31 machine just clipping the wall, the 43 just sliding through, and what a slide it was. Good job there by Richard Fletcher to get that car back up to the field as well without any damage. So Fletcher down in 12th as of right now, but we're working our first caution here at Darlington Raceway, working lap number 4 of the 74 here tonight. So far, Hollingsworth has led every single lap, starting from the pole. Tyler Seville running second, Will Worsler in third, and in fact, the first car to pick up positions under that short green flag run, AJ Green, all the way back in 8th right now with that bright orange number 3 Dale Earnhardt inspired throwback. He qualified in 10th. He has now moved up 2 positions, and those 2 positions were T.N.T as well as Jason Stewart. So Stewart qualified 9th. He's running 9th, and T.N.T has lost 2 positions. But meanwhile, the rest of the field pretty much lockstep from where they started this field here tonight, Greg.
Actually, yeah, looking at it, the top 7 are all where they started after this initial start. First driver to even change position is, like we talked about, the number 3 of AJ Green, who started 10th up to 8th. He's gotten around those 2 behind him, Jason Stewart and T.N.T. So not a lot of position shuffling here on this first green flag run. And remember, it's a short race tonight, Peter. It's a sprint, only 74 laps the distance here tonight. So once we get a long green flag run, and this should go pretty quickly and click them off here. Might have time for possibly doing this on one stop. We'll see what happens here moving forward. Lights, I believe, are still on the pace truck as they're not filing up single file or double file, excuse me. So should be a fun one here in this early stages once we go back green, Peter.
Yeah, we got a comment in the chat. Alexander Vaughn saying, Darlington Stripe Lap 2, this is the content I'm here for. Well, I got my Darlington Stripe counter out right now. There are 4 cars in the first 5 laps to have already earned their Darlington Stripe here tonight. Drivers who have, well, Jordan Berry, and possibly a little bit more than a Darlington Stripe on that number 31 machine, but also T.N.T picked up a Darlington Stripe. Doug Mullins in the number 18 machine, your winner from 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen, picking up a little bit of right side damage, as well as the number 24 machine, your winner from back at North Wilkesboro, the season opener, also with a little bit of right side damage on that number 24. So already the track that's too tough to tame rearing its head here early on.
And that's just a sign of things to come, Peter. Remember, the Hacksaw PC's Cup Series was here last week for their opening round of the playoffs, and what a show that was here at Darlington, with Greg Evans picking up win number 10 on the season in a wild playoff race. We can expect some of the same here tonight. Don't have as many cars in the field as we did that night, but it is going to be a fantastic race here.
Jordan Berry in the number 31 machine has taken that race car to pit road. We'll have to wait and see whether or not he can get back out there. But that Momentum Sim Racing driver currently sitting stationary in his pit box. He did have to take a tow to get back to his pit box, so not quite sure if this might be the end of his night or not. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. He did have troubles before getting the green flag here tonight, so it was great to see him out there on the racetrack, but this might be a premature end to tonight's Too Tough to Tame 100 here in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Throwback Cup Series. But Greg, we're about to see the green flag once again.
Yeah, here we go. Pace truck is in, putting the field back in the hands of Steve Hollingsworth. Remember, new look. He's running the Jim Stacy car after running the Tim Richmond Folgers car for the first few races of this series. Green flag back in the air. Another great start for him. Much better this time, even over Tyler Seville in the 11, as he has already pulled quite a sizable gap on him going into turn 1.
Yeah, Seville caught a little bit sleeping there, but Hollingsworth once again jumping out to a good gap. We saw this before, we're seeing it again. Now almost a second foot between the 202 and the number 11 of Seville. Perhaps Seville trying to bide his time. This is not the longest race in the world, but Greg, there is the possibility that we could potentially make it without coming down pit road. In fact, I wouldn't be at all surprised if we do go caution-free, knock on wood, that a lot of these cars won't pit in this race. I know the 24 of Alan Young, he picks up another Darlington stripe through turn number 1 and 2. Good job to keep it out of the wall for all too long. He just kind of grazed it through the center of the corner, almost backed up into the number 18 of Mullins, though, because he had to roll out of the throttle, and Mullins now drifting up a little bit closer to the wall. But like I said, there's a possibility we won't see these leaders on pit road here tonight. That'll be something we'll keep an eye on as this race goes on. Will we see some split strategy? I don't know. But you do have to take into account, Greg, that even if they need just a splash of fuel, it takes a long time to change tires in these race cars.
Absolutely, Peter. And we saw that in Atlanta a couple weeks ago, drivers electing to instead go with the 2-tire stops in this series at Atlanta, including Doug Mullins. Peter, Doug Mullins went that entire race in Atlanta in the number 18 on the same left side tires, did not change left side tires once, and it paid off and got him the victory. So we know it's doable here in these throwback cars. We'll see how it is on tracks such as Darlington. Going back to what you mentioned about possibly going off sequence, if anyone's going to try it, it'll be the number 1 and Jason Stewart. But Will Worcester, he just got himself a big old Darlington stripe.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. One fell swoop for that number 29 high flow machine coming out of turn number 2. That big tank slapper that we saw right there. He's now got a little bit of right rear damage, trying to track down his teammate, the number 11 of Seville. Hopefully that damage doesn't affect that race car all too much. But Greg, that's one thing about these 87 cars that I've noticed. These things are kind of built like tanks. They're not as air dependent, of course, as the modern day cup cars, so you can kind of flirt with the wall just a little bit more as Jordan Berry in the number 31 machine becomes tonight's first retirement, as he will finish in the 13th position. But make sure the chat stays active. We're going to be calling out the chat here tonight as this race goes on. Christopher Bouchard saying Barry probably has a part of the wall in his side. Yeah, definitely had a pretty significant hit with the wall. I was actually surprised that race car was able to get back to pit road. Unfortunately, his race will go no further. And another caution has come out here. As I was saying that, I'll have to figure out who it is, and it appears to be a car around in turn number 1 and 2. The 26 of Lee Staples has gone around there. He gets it back down the racetrack. We'll have to see what happened here on the 3Y TV replay, Greg.
Taking a look, that's Lee Staples in the purple 26. AJ Green right in front of him.
That was kind of an interesting one, Greg, because the 3 really slowed down, and I think the 26 wasn't expecting them to slow down all that much. We'll see it from this onboard cam, and it really kind of caught him out, so he kind of jerked to the right there to avoid running into the back of the number 3 and ended up in the outside wall. And unfortunately, Lee Staples and the StepTire.com LA Sim Sport machine has blown a motor, as I just heard that engine grenade on that race car. Here we go one more time. Just a little bit too much beans into the corner. And man, Tim Knott in the 41 machine, a little bit of net code there, just squeaking by that one. So definitely Tim Knott getting a good piece of luck there. Here we go on board with the number 41 machine. And just watch how close this was. And Greg, if it wasn't for the internet and all of its goofiness, this might have been much worse for the 41.
And that could have been a disaster for Tim Knott in the number 41 as he squeaks through. Good job for him. That's a tough one, too, for Lee Staples in the 26 as well, as he was having a solid run, kind of hanging out there around 9th, but unfortunately not going to be it today for him. Under caution for the second time here today, Peter.
Yeah, absolutely. Lee Staples has taken a tow back to his pit crew. We'll have to see whether or not they can get that engine running once again, but it could be a very lengthy repair for the number 26 machine, and there is a possibility he could become tonight's second retirement. F's in the chat for the number 26 of Lee Staples. Lee, I'm sure that you would want to be out there on the racetrack. Hopefully you can get back out there. Hopefully you don't lose all too many laps in that StepTire.com Chevrolet, but currently not going anywhere, so we'll have to see whether or not he can get back out there. And Greg, you know what? Yeah, we're live. Pace car lights are still on. Let's see if possibly we can pick up the number 26 of Lee Staples and maybe find out what's going on with him and see if he can get that race car back out there. Lee Staples, Peter Short in the 3Y TV booth. Definitely not what we wanted to see here tonight. Definitely, it seemed like kind of caught you out there. Are you going to be able to get that number 26 machine back out on the racetrack?
No, it's finished.
Well, that is a tough break here tonight. I'm sure you wanted to give that step tire machine a good ride. And, we do have Michigan here 2 weeks' time in the Throwback Cup Series, as well as the Roval over in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series side of things. What are your thoughts about going to Michigan and the Roval here in a couple weeks?
Well, Michigan's always fun, and the Roval is a beast unto itself. So if I decide to run the Roval, it's just going to be a matter of just trying to not wreck the car. It's definitely not one of my strong suits.
Yeah, definitely a beast of a racetrack. Definitely a road course without a whole lot of flow to it either. So it's kind of one of those racetracks just difficult to find a rhythm in. But Lee, before we let you go, you got any shout-outs here for us on 3Y TV?
Yeah, I just want to thank my sponsor, Step Tire, and also want to thank my teammates, Alan and Ed. I hope they do well tonight, and just thank them for being such good teammates. I'm not sure the 87 car is my forte either, but I enjoy running them.
All right, Lee. Well, hopefully we'll get to see you here in a couple weeks in the Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson Series at Michigan, and of course in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series at the Charlotte Roval. Good luck, bud.
Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, Greg, the field doubling up here for this restart, and I believe we're now down to 11 cars as AJ Green in the number 3 machine. He's hustling his way to get back to this group of cars to be the 11th car in line for this restart. But so far, Stephen Hollingsworth has led every single lap. Greg, do you think the 11th is going to get a bit of a restart here?
I don't know, because I was watching Tyler Seville there. He just scraped the wall under caution, scuffing his tires up. So I think that's the first the first occurrence of a caution Darlington stripe I've seen. But see if it affects him moving forward, because we're coming about second restart of the day. Third green flag of the night is green. We're working lap number 17.
Now, one thing I did notice under this caution flag, T.N.T in the 41 took tires on that race car. So they do have a tire limit. I believe they only have one set of tires to change onto. Perhaps T.N.T saw what was done by John Jenkins on Tuesday night here in the American Sim Racing Series in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. Maybe he's thinking we might get a little bit of green flag running now that the car number is dwindling just a little bit, now down to just 11 race cars out there. So we'll have to see if Knott can work his way forward with those fresh tires. Currently still sitting down in the 9th position right behind Ed Bray. And we heard Ed Bray was, kind of talked well of by the number 26 of Lee Staples, and I gotta say that is great to hear out of drivers whenever they thank their teammates. And really, it is a team sport. A lot of these drivers in different teams practice together, they work together, they enjoy the vibe of each individual team. I know, Greg, you've probably been part of the sim racing team, and the number 1 machine, Jason Stewart, gutting off the racetrack. He's going to come back on right here, right in front of the 41 machine of T.N.T. Great save by the number 1. We'll see if we can go back and catch that one on a 3Y TV replay. Here we go. There's the 66 of Ed Bray. It was right in front of Bray where the number 1 machine broke loose, and what a save by that machine right there. Good job by Jason Stewart to keep it pointed in the right direction. I'm sure he's going to have to regroup here. But as I was saying, teamwork really is what's important here. And speaking of teamwork, there's a couple of teammates locked together on the front stretch as the 29 of Worcester has caught Seville.
Teamwork makes the dream work, Peter. And we got 2 teammates going after our race leader, Stephen Hollingsworth, in the number 2. Worcester in the wall. In the number 29, and that's his second big shot to the wall today. So Horsler having a hard time here with the wall, but Tyler Seville putting pressure on Stephen Hollingsworth. But don't look in the mirror, Will, because Alan Young, winner at North Wilkesboro, there go the top 2 around. Oh my goodness! And stay for now because this is off the racing service. Now the caution comes out,
and Those are
Right.
your top two drivers in points coming into tonight. Hollingsworth had a 25-point advantage over the number 11 of Seville. We see this one more time, and the two just clipped the outside wall, bounced right down into the path of the number 11 machine. Looks like Seville doesn't have a whole lot of damage, and oh my goodness, that was close. That could have been a lot worse there for Hollingsworth, and definitely for the number 1 of Stewart, who might need a new pair of underwear. But watch, there's the contact with the outside wall, spinning down heavy into the inside wall. Luckily for Seville, he was able to lock up the brakes and get it slowed down. Whoa! Just like that, the number 1 machine gets on by. But Greg, here we are, third caution flag of the night, but this time it's your top two involved.
This is going to change the entire complexion of this race. One more look on board Tyler Seville. Nowhere for Seville to go as Hollingsworth flipping the wall. We talk about the Darlington stripe, but sometimes you catch that wall a little bit too hard, and that's exactly what happened to Hollingsworth. He has a lot of damage on the 202. Tyler Seville looks okay. We're going to see just how bad it is on the 11 car. Some damage to the right rear after he caught the wall, but there you see the points leader, Steve Hollingsworth, in the number 2. A lot of damage to that number 2 car right now.
Yeah, I'm sure that number 2 machine will be in his pit box for quite some time, trying to get as much of that damage repaired as possible. In fact, here he is coming into his box right now, and his crew will go to work. Question is whether or not he's going to take tires on that race car or not. AJ Green in the number 3 machine, also joining the number 11 of Tyler Seville and the 202 of Hollingsworth. So definitely that number 3 who got a little bit of damage under that last caution, trying to get some more of that damage repaired. The field now down the backstretch. And guys, the Darlington stripe count is now essentially 10 cars. We're down to just Richard Fletcher, the 66 of Ed Bray, and the 231 of Larry Horn. Larry yet to get that Darlington stripe, and now he's up to 3rd. Alexander Vaughn is pumped about Larry Horn getting up into the 3rd position, right behind Worsler and Alan Young. So, good race so far for the 231 machine, Greg.
Been good for Larry Horn, and we talked to him last week. He loves driving in this series, so Horn definitely has become kind of a rising star here in the Throwback Series. Still searching for that first win, but could come today, as this is very quickly, Peter, turning into a race of attrition as we're about a third of the way through this one. Already 3 cautions on the day, and this last one took out your 2 fastest cars, Hollingsworth and Seville. So now this is going to change the entire complexion of this race.
Looking at the chat, Nikki Worsler chiming in saying, I think Tyler is okay. Question for the rest of the chat, do you agree with Nikki or not? Do you think that number 11 machine will be able to keep pace with the leaders such as Will Worsler, the 24 of Alan Young, and the 231 of Larry Horn? When we do go back to green flag racing, there is the number 11 and the 202 of Hollingsworth. Of course, 202 is the number you'll see on your ticker. Number 2 is what that race machine has on the side. You see the yellow flag in the flagman's hand right now. And let's see if possibly we can dial up Nikki's husband here before we go back. Nope, let's scratch that idea because the base truck lights are off. So we'll try and pick up someone to interview under the next caution if we get another caution. Hopefully we don't, and hopefully we can get a little bit of green flag running in here. Now just 50 laps to go here in tonight's 100-mile, 74-lap race here at the famed Darlington Raceway.
So under caution here, lap 25. And Peter, we weren't expecting this to really play a factor. However, you have to start looking at the time limit as well. Only an hour and 20 minutes in this race session today. So we're at 59 minutes left. We're 21 minutes in, and we're a third of the way in. So if this continues, could we possibly see this race start getting into the time crunch if the cautions continue happening?
If the cautions continue to happen, I mean, it's 1 minute 20 seconds per lap under caution. So I think even then we will be fine and not have any troubles. But nonetheless, Well, it'll be something to keep an eye on if we have caution after caution after caution, but hopefully we don't because the green flag is in the air. That's what I like to see. And the number 29 of Will Warser will lead the field off into turn number 1. That high line not getting a good restart. Alan Young, though, in that number 24 machine, he's going to stay in second. And Larry Orn going to drop back to fourth as Doug Mullins already got 2 wins in a row to his name in that number 18 Slice Pizza Bar race car. He's trying to go for 3 in a row here tonight.
Already up to third, Peter. Started 6th, now up in the top 3 for the first time here tonight in that number 18. Like you just said, 2 wins in a row entering tonight, looking for the three-peat. Going after Alan Young, who was the inaugural winner here in the Throwback Series as he makes a charge. Nice run in the turn 1, though, by Alan Young. Great job in turn 1 there by the Wilkesboro winner.
Yeah, Alan Young found something in turn number 1 and 2. It almost looked like he found a grip patch because he just rocketed away from the number 18 of Mullins. He closed in on the back bumper of the number 29 machine of Worsler as well. Possibly that number 24 machine hasn't flirted with the wall quite as much as the number 29 of Worsler and the 18 of Mullins. Going to be something we're going to have to keep an eye on here tonight. The accumulation of damage, and one car that has accumulated a decent amount of damage, we just saw him. Now was the 202 of Hollingsworth dominated the early portion of this race. Tyler Seville's got himself back up to 6th, so he's going to try and run down the number 66 of Ed Bray. Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson on the hood. And folks, if you're in the market for Harley Davidson apparel, a Harley Davidson itself, go check out Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson. Go check them out online right now. BOSWELLS Country Roads Harley Davidson. So you can take yourself home a nice Harley down all those country roads. And I'll tell you what, Larry Orn in that number 231 still holding on tough there in the 4th position, losing a little bit of ground to Mullins here over this run. But up well. If time runs up, the race is official. The checkered flag drops. But as of right now, I think we'll time, especially with us get more lap to go. Will Warser in that number 29 machine leading the way here at Darlington.
Doug Mullins to the inside, though, of Alan Young for second, trying the inside line now in that number 24 is Doug Mullins in the 18. And I believe Young may have caught the ball there, and that's exactly what Doug Mullins needed. 2 wins in a row, up to second now, trying to track down his boss, Will Worsler, the Pocono winner. 4 wins in the top 3 spots right now, Peter.
Yeah, so now it's going to be interesting to see over the next few laps who has the pace. And I'm not talking about single lap pace. I'm talking about average pace, because average pace is going to determine who can get to victory lane, especially when we start to get those long green flag runs. You don't want to be fast for just 1 lap. We've seen some drivers go out there, man, they're lightning fast in qualifying. They just don't have the ability to save their tires. Last time by, fastest car on the racetrack was the number 29 machine of Will Worsler. He also has the fastest 5-lap average in that race car. So Will Worsler's doing exactly what he needs to right now, although he got really close to the outside wall coming out of turn number 4. Other drivers doing quite well right now. Tyler Seville, remember he was involved in that accident. He has been running some quick times, but as I say that, he actually ran a lap time that was quite a bit off the pace. But he is still holding pretty tough. Now in the 5th position, he was able to run down the 66 of Ed Bray and launch himself back into the top 5. Stephen Hollingsworth, your points leader coming into tonight, he's down in the 8th spot, trying to close in on Jason Stewart. But as of right now, Hollingsworth not quite on the same pace as your leaders, although he is faster than both the 1 and the 66 in front of him. So Hollingsworth going to see if he can get himself towards the top 5. Might be a little bit of a stretch with all that damage, but only time will tell with just 41 to go.
Yeah, we're closing in on halfway with that, Peter. Working lap number 34, 41 to go. So we're getting close to halfway here in this one. 3 cars behind the wall, those being Jordan Berry, Lee Staples, and A.J. Green are out of the race. So 10 cars remaining on the track. All 10 of them still on the lead lap right now.
Yeah, that is very, very true. Richard Fletcher in the number 43 machine, the last car on the lead lap, trying to get his Perrier machine moving upwards towards the top 5 right now, although he is about 4 seconds behind the number 41 of T.N.T, who's already come down and used his fresh set of tires. But here we are, Greg, working lap number 35. We're almost to the halfway mark. We'll be cross flags here in just about 3 laps, so definitely a short race on hand for us here tonight, and all the people in the chat. Dickie, looks like you were right, and that number 11 machine of Seville not too badly hurt as he's trying to close in on the 231 of Larry Orn. In fact, last time by, Tyler Seville was about 0.2 of a second faster, although over the last 5 laps, he and Larry Orn have kind of just been pretty equal on lap time on average. So we'll have to see whether or not Seville can keep moving in on the 231 of Orn. But good job by Orn in that race car. Yet to get a Darlington stripe here tonight. And he is just one of 3 drivers who have, well, no, I take that back. Richard Fletcher just got a Darlington stripe himself. So now we're just down to 2 drivers without the Darlington stripe. One of those is Ed Bray, who's under fire from this man right here, the 2 of Hollingsworth.
Hollingsworth also trying to make his way back up, Peter. Jason Stewart got around Bray as well. Now Hollingsworth gets by. Hollingsworth, remember, was the early race leader, had that incident earlier while hitting the wall, and he has a lot of damage as well, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him as much as we thought it would. Tyler Seville in better shape after the incident than Hollingsworth, but Hollingsworth still doing pretty solid in the number 2, and remember, he loves these throwback cars, so Hollingsworth might not be surprising to see him up back in the top 5 by the time this is over.
Yeah, Hollingsworth in that 202 machine has definitely been trying to get this series to grow. He asked the question kind of amongst all the drivers, like, what do we need to get this series to grow? Because Hollingsworth loves these 87 machines. He wants to see these drivers out there on the racetrack. And I think, Greg, that a lot of people like these 87 machines. I mean, I like them. They drive just differently. They drive funky. They don't drive like the modern day Cup cars. And it's definitely a unique style of driving that you kind of have to sit back and go, huh, I got to figure out how to do this particular race machine. And to me, at least, that's enjoyable. You know, I love getting these race cars around the racetrack and figuring out how to drive them, how to race the racetrack. And even though the field might be spread out, I mean, we heard from Lee Staples that, you know, these race cars might be hard to drive, they might be tricky to drive, but they're just a lot of fun.
Yes, they are a lot of fun, Peter. And when they first came out, you saw a lot of drivers taking these to North Wilkesboro because they kind of went with a package deal. They were designed to be released together. Of course, Wilkesboro wound up coming to the server a few weeks before the 87s, but gradually they have become more and more into a modern, like kind of following a modern schedule. You see them pop up at tracks like Dover and Talladega, of course, which is a common track, Daytona. In fact, when the first week these 87 cars were on the server, they just went back and forth between Daytona, Talladega, Daytona, Talladega. And I don't know how many you were able to do, but I did quite a few at the plate tracks. Daytona and Talladega, had a lot of fun driving them. Was up in the mix for the win a couple times. Unfortunately, luck never was on my side in those, but it just shows you just how much fun these cars are to drive. And looking forward to it because next week we're taking it off of ASRS competition because it's our traditional week 13. It's week 14 this year, but it's week 14, kind of the play week for iRacing, if you will. So we will not have ASRS competition on screen, but we got a battle for the lead brewing. As we were talking about that, Doug Mullins going after Will Worcester, who's up in the apron. The teammates get together. And Alan Young is licking his chops right now in the 24.
Yeah, Alan Young just saw that. He just gained a ton of ground. Those 2 race cars getting a little bit of damage. Here we go. Watching this one on the 3Y TV replay. Mullins in that race machine had a fantastic run on Worcester. And unfortunately, they made just a little bit of contact. And you saw that number 18 machine really struggle with that outside wall. As now it looks like Mullins is closing back in on Will Worcester as we go back live. They're still running nose to tail, and like you said, Greg, Alan Young back there in third already saw what happened, and Mullins gets another run coming out of the corner. The 29 of Worcester going to go down to the bottom of the racetrack. They're side by side going off into turn number 3. Worcester on the bottom, Mullins on the top side, trying to go for 3 wins in a row.
Well, giving a little bit of a bump to the 29 on the way through there as he goes around on the outside to take the lead. A lot of damage on the right side now of Doug Mullins, and then number 18 doesn't seem to be affecting him. That's the thing about these 87 cars that's different from these Cup cars, Peter. If this was the modern day Cup car, the Gen 6 Cup car, that's a day ender right there because those cars are so aero dependent. These things, you can still wrestle them around, so it's not necessarily a day ender for these cars, but we'll see how it goes the next little bit here.
Yeah, now these front 3 starting to fan out just a little bit. It seems like once Mullins was able to get to the front, Young not quite able to hold on to the front 2 last time by Doug Mullins, turning a very respectable 31.941. Compare that to Will Worcler's 31.942. So your front 2 pretty much running the same lap time. Alan Young, however, 4/10 off the pace of these front drivers. Ooh, Alan Young almost getting into that outside wall. There's your 4th place machine of Tyler Seville, but a little bit further back, Jason Stewart, Stephen Hollingsworth, Larry Orn. That battle has been brewing, and looks like Hollingsworth just got around the 231 of Orn, so move Orn back to 7th. Will Worcester, meanwhile, just had another excursion with the outside wall through turn number 1 and 2. That's allowed the number 24 machine to get right there behind him once again.
Alan Young, you can hear the Jaws music playing as we're on board with him in the number 24. And we can't actually play the music because we'll get a copyright strike on 3YTP. We don't want any of those. But you can hear it in your head, hum it at home if you know the tune. Pretty sure everybody knows that tune. But Alan Young putting the pressure on Will Worcester again, and hit in the wall again goes Will Worcester. Peter, they may have been trying to make these tires last, but I think the tires on the 29 car have been used up just about to their life expectancy here.
Yeah. Let's put F in the chat to pay respects to Will Worcster's tires because they are completely shot. And Worcester once again struggling to get through turn number 3 and 4. He's going to have to see if he can figure out how to drive this racetrack a little bit differently, maybe back up his corners just a little bit. But nonetheless, he's in the wall again through turn number 1 and 2. So really struggling as these laps are winding down. And now Alan Young in that number 24 machine, he's got a run on Mullins in the 18. Something must have happened to Mullins. Maybe he smacked the wall again because we got a battle for the race lead.
I think he did hit the wall off turn number 2 that time, and that has allowed Alan Young to come back in. Ed Bray on pit road into number 66, one of the 2 drivers who, at last check, did not have a Darlington stripe. He is on pit road in at number 66. He had fallen back outside of the top 5 after running up there, so coming in for some tires on the number 66, and we'll wait to see if anyone else follows his lead right now. But Alan Young, meanwhile, putting the pressure on Doug Mullins once again.
And there was contact between the number 66 and the 41 of T.N.T down the front stretch about 2 or so laps ago. And Ed Bray actually made contact with the inside wall on the front stretch. That's why he had a little bit of left front damage. So unfortunately, he is going to pick up a Darlington stripe on the opposite side of the race car. That leaves us with tonight's winner, so to speak, of the Darlington Stripe Too Tough to Tame Challenge. That's the driver with the longest time to get a Darlington stripe, and that would be Larry Orn in the 231 machine, still sporting a very clean Chevrolet Ford Lumina. And looks like Orn has caught the number 18 of Seville, and he has got around the number 11 machine. In fact, Seville is on pit road right now as we continue to watch the battle for the race lead.
Yeah, Seville coming down after the contact earlier. Remember, Peter, he's already been off and on pit road for damage repair. As we take a look back at the lead, Alan Young, ooh, getting up there with Doug Mullins. Something we haven't hit on yet, Peter. Remember, Alan Young had a very, very good run at Darlington last week in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Series, up in the top 3 for a majority of the race, coming away with a top 5. Very good run for Alan Young in the number 24 here last week, and here he is back at Darlington again. Another great run. Seems like this track really fitting in for Alan Young.
We also had another car on pit road. That's the number 29 machine of Will Worsler, but the number 24 of Young gets a great run coming out of turn number 2, and he's just going to go to the race lead. Here comes Mullins. Mullins pulling off the racetrack. He's going to come down to pit road. When will we see Alan Young on pit road, or is he going to stay out there to the end? Does he have enough fuel? It seems like most of the field electing to come down pit road here, kind of indicating that they don't have enough fuel. There is one of the drivers who have come down pit road. Looking at the kind of the scoring monitor right now here, Greg, pretty much all of your, well, I take that back. Alan Young, and here comes Alan Young coming down pit road, but this is going to give the race lead to the number 1 machine of Jason Stewart, Greg, and Stewart's already made a pit stop here tonight. He made a pit stop 30 laps ago, so he can go about another 20 or so laps on fuel. And if you look at the number in the top left-hand corner of the screen, 21 laps to go. Will Jason Stewart try and stretch this to the end? What about Stephen Hollingsworth? He pitted 1 lap before Jason Stewart, so he has maybe a little bit more difficult of a fuel situation, but he's one of those drivers who's come down pit road as well. So interesting to see here that potentially we might have some cars on an alternate strategy make it to the end.
And remember, Jason Stewart is not shy of trying out some of these different strategies. Remember the Charlotte race? It resulted in the top 5 for him. He was able to stretch it as long as he physically could to make it work. He can go the distance here, I believe, so this will be interesting for him. And the good news for him, Peter, is the guy in second, Stephen Hollingsworth, he has a lot of damage to him as well, so the car is not 100% in that number 2 car. So the number 1 of Jason Stewart, I think he's sitting in a pretty good spot right now.
Last time by, Jason Stewart was 0.6 of a second faster than Hollingsworth, so he's pulling away from the 202 machine. Could we be seeing Jason Stewart go to victory lane? Remember, in the first 5 races, we had 5 different winners here in the Boswell Country Roads Harley Davidson series. It was only Watkins Glen 2 weeks ago where we saw Doug Mullins become our first repeat winner. Could we see another driver make it to victory lane here tonight? Because if the 1 does win the race, he would be the 6th different winner this season.
What a story this series has been as he gets in the wall as Tyler Seville tries to go around on the inside. He's pulled away 3 seconds from Stephen Hollingsworth in the number 2, so that number is good, but he did catch the wall just a little bit there, so he can afford, Peter, to kind of go easy right now, not push the envelope a whole lot, and try to get himself some extra fuel mileage out of that number 1 car.
Well, now you start to have to think about that 202 machine, because remember, I think Hollingsworth here is trying to go the distance. I think he's trying to save as much fuel as he can on that race car. So maybe that's why he's losing a lot of ground. In fact, over the last 5 laps, Hollingsworth has been about a second slower per lap than Jason Stewart. Oh, he's got a flat tire in the 202 machine, and he's in the wall, and the 202 machine of Hollingsworth, your points leader, just like that, looks like his night is done.
He has put it behind the wall, Peter, on board with the 202 here.
Yeah, you can hear that tire is flat, that right front. And remember, he did have a damaged race car, so possibly that right front just had just been worn out. It blew out. We heard that. And how much that's attributed to the damage on that race car, I don't know. But your points leader, Hollingsworth, you're going to take a bit of a hit, depending on where Tyler Seville finishes. Comes in tonight with a 25-point advantage. That advantage will be slimmed down. And how much, we'll find out at the end of the night. Just 14 laps to go. And now the number 1 machine of Stewart has it massively, 13 seconds over T.N.T. So Stewart here probably starting to think about saving fuel if he can't quite make it, because he's got a ton of ground to give up to the 41 of T.N.T. Meanwhile, Richard Fletcher in the number 43 machine, he pitted 8 laps prior to the number 1 of Stewart. Same deal with T.N.T. T.N.T. pitted 47 laps ago now. Jason Stewart just about 38.5 laps since he was last on pit road. So definitely a little bit more concerning for Tim Knott and Richard Fletcher for them making it to the end. But Jason Stewart so far looking good. But if he caught any wind of the 202 blowing a right front tire, Jason Stewart might be thinking here, man, I got to start taking care of my right front as well.
Absolutely, Peter. Closing stages, we're working 12 laps to go right now for your number one of Jason Stewart, kind of hanging back, and he can really afford to not push it right now. His last lap was a 31.891 for Jason Stewart, and Richard Fletcher just went a lap down into number 43. That leaves two drivers on the lead lap, Stewart and Knott. So Stewart, amazingly, even if he does pit, the worst he'll be is possibly second position here right now if something were to happen, and he's so much faster right now than Tim Knott, who's just limping along into number 41 trying to manage it. Jason Stewart, I think, is sitting nice and pretty right now in the number one.
The thing that I find funny about Jason Stewart is that it doesn't appear that he's doing any type of fuel management. I think he's either good to the end, or Ed Bray in the 66 machine seemed like he might have just had a little bit of a moment down there on the inside of the racetrack in turn number 3 and 4. We'll see if we can dial up this replay for the number 66 machine right in front of your race leader, the number 1. And I think you'll see him on the right-hand side of your screen. Now left-hand side of your screen, a little bit slow. There he is. And that number 66. We'll see if we can get one more look at that on Ed Bray here, the LA Sim Sport driver, and a little bit of a slide through turn number 3 and 4. We'll have one more shot at this replay here. Yep. Just caught that outside wall there, Greg, and it seemed like that kind of put him into a slide. Just watch this right rear. Bang! Just kind of snaps that wall. And we've seen that a couple times this season. We saw that all the way back in the first race at North Wilkesboro with the number 98 of Sam Maxwell, that car just kind of lurches sideways sometimes. It seems like a bug or a glitch with these 87 cars that it has the tendency to do that.
Yeah, so that's a thing too, Peter, with new cars on the server. This car is still relatively new to the server. It's only been on the server now for 13 weeks as it came out at the end of last season. So it is still new. They're still working bugs out. They've actually already had a couple of patches done to this car to make it a little better. Remember when these cars first came out, all those issues they were having with the suspension and how once in a while you'd see the cars going around, the right rear tire was sticking out of the rear windshield. That has been saved, but there's still some bugs being worked out with these cars, so that may just be one of them here. We're inside 10 laps to go now, and Jason Stewart is up to 14 seconds over Tim Knott now.
Will Warsler has gotten around the number 43 of Richard Fletcher. That number 43 now slid back into 5th. He will soon come under fire from the 231 of Larry Orn, with Orn on fresher tires. But Stewart continuing to lead the way. And now, Greg, Tim Knott in the number 41 machine, he has gone 53 laps, which tells me Jason Stewart, no problem. He can go all of the way here. 7 more laps to go, and I'm sure he's kind of licking his chops. He probably didn't think the race would go caution-free from when he came down pit road, but it sure has, and he's pretty much looking like the number 1 show here tonight. 14-second lead over the 41 machine.
Yeah, it has been a nice run for Jason Stewart. Remember, Peter, he has come close a couple times in ASRS competition this year. Both of them being at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Remember, the big one, the 300-mile or 200-lapper at Charlotte. We thought Jason Stewart was in a nice position to get the win in that car. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and he got a top 5. 2 days later, here he was back here for the Throwback Series race. Same thing. Gambled. Got a top 5 out of it, but here it is working again. And Peter, I think this may be the night. We're at 5 laps to go. Jason Stewart has a 14-second lead. No worries out the windshield in front of him. All he has to do is just keep it off the wall and under power. He can save fuel when he needs to, and this might be his first win.
Yeah, fantastic job for that number 1 machine. But look at Will Warsler. He's trying to get all he can get. He's trying to stay ahead of the number 18 machine of Mullins. That is a battle for the 3rd position right now, folks. 29 over the number 18. Jason Stewart over a lap in front of them, although With the pace that Will Worcester and Doug Mullins have right now on the fresher tires, they might just unlap themselves on the final lap of the race. And the 29 gets into the outside wall coming out of turn number 4. That's going to give the third position to Doug Mullins. Looks like his race winning streak will come to an end here tonight, Will Mullins, but definitely trying to keep that podium streak alive in that mobile. Here we go on board with the 29 of Worcester. We'll see if Worcester can do anything to run back down his teammate to pick up the third position. But up the front, Stewart now up to a 15-second advantage over the number 41 of Knott. And it seems like Knott has that second place in the bag as these laps are winding down here at Darlington Raceway. Just about 4 miles to go.
So laps clicking down here at Darlington. Matter of fact, I believe we're going to see the white flag this time by for Jason Stewart as he's coming down the backstretch. What an amazing rally for him. And remember, Peter, he had that huge slide and a couple of scary moments throughout the course of this day. Dirty Bird Sim Racing is definitely going to have to supply him with a new fire suit regardless at the end of the day. But he just took the white flag looking for his first win in series competition.
Working his way through turn number 1 and 2 for the final time. Getting it up near that Darlington wall. Brings it right back down to the apex of turn number 2 down the backstretch. 170 miles an hour before getting off in the binders for turn number 3 for the final time. Lets it drift up to the wall one more time through turn number 4. Jason Stewart comes out of turn number 4, gonna bring it down on the apron. He goes to victory lane in the Too Tough to Tame 100 here at Darlington. Coming home in second, still out there on the racetrack, the number 41 of T.N.T. He's hustling his way through turn number 3 and 4 for the final time. Here he comes. Great run for T.N.T. here tonight in that Dale Earnhardt-inspired number 41 machine to come home second. Third place will go to Doug Mullins, just over 1 lap down. So, Greg, very interesting night here at Darlington. I didn't call that one. I wasn't 100% sure about their fuel mileage on these race machines, but Jason Stewart, he must have known his pit number, and he pitted at just the right time.
He did just that, Peter, and he's going to burn them down here on the front stretch. We have our 6th different winner in the Throwback Series in race number 7. Great job by Jason Stewart. It was an up and down day, but Peter, this is one of those ones that you knew was going to happen eventually with how Jason Stewart's run in this series this year, getting it done finally.
Yeah, fantastic job for Jason Stewart. Like you said, it was going to happen with the gambles that this guy does. It was going to happen, just a matter of when. He definitely is a little bit of a gambler here. He knows that that's one way to get to victory lane, and it's going to work out for him here tonight. It's definitely worked against him at times as well, those gambles, but here tonight definitely paying off for him. He's going to do a little bit of a polished victory lap around this 1.36 mile racetrack and in reverse, and great to see that on that number 1 machine.
Yeah, this is kind of a Dirty Bird sim racing thing. We've seen several Dirty Bird drivers pull this off at the end of a race. Polish victory lap, tribute, of course, to Alan Kowicki. And how many times do we see Alan Kowicki in this kind of car do this? I mean, these cars were racing right when Alan Kowicki was breaking in to the main series, the Wisconsin drivers. So awesome to see these guys paying tribute to Kowicki. But how about it for Jason Stewart? Long time coming for sure, getting that first win. And what better place to do it than the track Too Tough to Tame?
Yeah, absolutely. And I got to give Alan Kowicki credit. I don't think a lot of people realize that Alan Kowicki, the guy did pretty much everything himself. He ran his own team, raced the car, knew how to get to victory lane. Definitely a legend of the sport. And Jason Stewart here picking up the win here tonight. But folks, we're going to step away for just a brief moment from the Darlington Raceway. We'll be right back to talk to your top 3 from tonight's Too Tough to Tame 100 here in the Boswell's Country Roads Harley Davidson Thursday Night Throwback Cup Series.
Life happens everywhere. Like it never even happened, only happens here. The cleanup and restoration specialists at 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com.
the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Welcome to Sliced Pizza Bar, where we're passionate about great pizza. All of our food is made fresh daily using only the finest ingredients and techniques. Our chefs put their heart and soul into each pie, and we're sure you'll taste the difference. Located on both the Indian Rocks and Madeira beaches, chances are we're right around the corner for your next pizza night or dinner date. Come give us a try and experience the slice difference.
All right, folks, welcome back to the Darlington Raceway. Look at that beautiful portion of the United States right there, Darlington, South Carolina, and the very famous racetrack that you see right down there. But on the ground, a small little dot down there on the side of the racetrack is Mr. Greg Ranson. He is caught up with tonight's third-place finisher, the 18 of Doug Mullins.
Well, that's the shine to see reflecting off my lack of hair. But Doug Mullins of third place here tonight at Darlington. 2 straight wins entering tonight. Not the win you were looking for, but still another podium. You have really got a handle on these 87 throwback cars.
Yeah, it was a surprisingly fun race. I was a little nervous going into this race. Just practice was a yard sale, and as the race went on, I felt like I was getting a little bit stronger. But you got to give it to the Dirty Bird guys. Strategy. They made the right call, and it was game over at that point.
Well, Doug, tell us a little bit about the racing with your teammate and car owner, Will Vorsler, because it seemed like from about lap 30 or so on, you two were together the entire race. Fun watching you guys battle there all day.
Yeah, I would say this was probably the least prepared we were with strategy wise and whatnot. And so we were just kind of all going for it. And it was good running with him, and I ran with Alan a little bit. Unfortunately Will and I got tangled up in turn 1. But it didn't change the outcome of the race for either one of us. And of course, nothing, there was no hard feelings for anything like that. That was just a mistake by, who knows? I could have been too low. He may have, who knows? But yeah, it was good. It was fun. I'm glad to get on the podium again. I felt like I had possibly first place speed if cards fell right. But Jason deserved that one. He's always out here, and this kind of thing with these long runs and long run strategy. He's definitely one to roll the dice, and it pays off for him some.
All right, well, Doug, you led 9 laps here tonight. Next up for the Throwback Series, an entirely different form of racing, we go to a track that really always put on a show with this style of car back in the day. We're headed to Michigan coming up here next broadcast, so an entirely different form of racing. Are you excited for Michigan?
Yeah, we earlier in the year in the A car, I started to get kind of comfortable there. These things are completely different. You can't even compare them really. But I think Michigan, with just the rhythm of that track, and getting into the rhythm with these cars, I think that'll be a fun race. I think it'll be a good race.
All right, well, Doug, another podium here tonight. You've gotten pretty good at doing this, but let's hear who's your sponsors.
Slice, Pizza Bar, of course. One that I have failed to mention throughout the year, not necessarily sponsor, but just we could say a partner, is iRacing Paints. Jordan Berry over there has done a lot of our paints on our cars, and obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I feel like we got some of the best looking cars on the track. So I just want to thank him. He's always down to throw a scheme together for us and whatnot. Jim and Sam for the league, you guys the broadcast. I would say that pretty much wraps it up for now.
All right, another podium. Third place, Doug Mullins, possibly the hottest driver in the series. We'll see you in Michigan in a couple weeks.
All right, guys.
And I believe Peter Short has caught up with a guy who hustled and bustled his way around and fought the car with a lot of damage. Got a second place. Peter Short's with T.N.T.
Yeah, I am with driver of the number 41 machine here, Tim. I'll tell you what, a little bit of good strategy here tonight in that number 41 GM Goodwrench machine. What was going through your mind when you came down pit road? I think you were actually one of the first drivers to come down pit road and take tires here tonight. That definitely paid off for you at the end.
You sure I took tires? I don't remember doing that. I took gas the first time I stopped, and I don't remember if I stopped again.
I think I remember seeing your right sides up on that car at one point fairly early in the race, but perhaps it was just long angle shot. But nonetheless, I mean, you definitely put on a show out there here tonight, coming home in second, which is a great finish for you, as of course you come into tonight sixth place in points, trying to close in on Sam Maxwell, who did not start here tonight, so presumably you'll be up into the top 5 in points. Tell us about that.
That'll be nice. That'll be my highest so far this year. This is my best finish of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the first time we've had you on 3 Wide TV this year on a podium position. But hey, I'll tell you what, first portion of the race, there was a couple of early cautions, a couple of early scares near the back of the pack. Tell us about that. I mean, you almost had a big moment, I think, with the Wheaties mobile, AJ Green, and the number 3 when he got into the outside wall. You almost had an issue with the number 1 of Stewart as well, kind of in the first 15 or so laps. It seemed like this race could have been wildly different for you.
Yeah, I don't know. There's always issues every race. You just got to kind of avoid them and hope you get away with it.
Well, hey, you did a fantastic job here tonight. I'll give you a question, and we were thinking about this, middle of the race. Just how many laps could you have gone here tonight with that tank of fuel that you had?
Well, the first stop I put fuel in, so I had enough to make it at that point. Then the second stop I got a damage fixed, and I guess I took tires. And then I just managed my tires the whole race after that.
Well, I'll tell you what, you did a fantastic job managing your tires. We even saw one car out there here tonight with a blown right front tire. So you did a good job of managing your stuff and coming home with a second place finish in a couple of weeks. Though we do go to Michigan, it's the legacy version of Michigan. So we throw it back about 10 years here in iRacing. What are your thoughts about Michigan?
I like Michigan. It's a tough track, though. It's you're wide open the whole time, so you got to be fast. You got to have a good strategy. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But before we let you go, Tim, you got any shout-outs for us?
Oh, you never know. You guys always do a good job. You could maybe go through the backfield a little bit more often. Maybe interview a 20 guy every now and then.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely something that I've been trying to work on personally myself, is try and focus on the field. The problem is that they put on such darn good racing here in the American Sim Racing Series. It's hard to kind of capture it all, but I'll tell you what, that is not only credit to the league, that's also credit to you yourself. Definitely doing a fantastic job in the league, coming home with a third place finish tonight, but best of luck there, Tim.
Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good one.
All right, well, that is your second place finisher here tonight, T.N.T. And I do believe Greg Rentz has caught up with tonight's winner of the Dirty Bird Sim Racing Machine of Jason Stewart.
And Jason Stewart, it was a long time coming, but you finally broke through, got the big one. And how about it at Darlington? You put on a clinic the second half of that race.
Yeah, I still think they handed it to me, but with Benton, but I guess they had old tires. But strategy worked out for us finally this year.
Well, Jason, tell us about the first half of the race, because we had you a couple of times on 3Y TV replays going for a slide at one point and then barely dodging out on another incident. So you had an eventful first half. Tell us about shaking that off and getting your head down for the second half of this race here.
Yeah, somehow I finished 0x. But sorry, kids are talking. I told them to be quiet. But yeah, we had 0x somehow, and I don't know how we ended with 0x, but we slid it that one time going through 1 and 2 and somehow saved it, and luckily didn't collect Edward there.
Well, Jason, definitely has been fun watching you in this series, and we talked about it early in the broadcast that if anyone was going to go off sequence on pit stops, it was you, because we've seen you do it a couple times, mostly at Charlotte in both this series and in the Hacksaw PC series earlier this year. So you are kind of the one in the series that everyone watches to go kind of off sequence and try different things. Is that something that you've always liked doing, or is that just kind of something that you've just kind of take it as it goes and just see what happens?
I just go with my gut. Like tonight, I looked at the running. I think there was only 10 or 11 cars left in the race. So I was like, well, we're running out back. We might as well take a chance, and hopefully there's not a caution. And it worked out.
All right, well, Jason, a win here at Darlington. Next up, a big horsepower track, the classic Ford versus Chevy Battleground. We're headed to Michigan in 2 weeks here for the next T.N.T. Throwback Series race. You excited for this one?
Yeah, Michigan's one of my better tracks, so it should be a fun race. And these guys in the series always puts on a good show.
All right, well, it's your first win here tonight in the Throwback Series, and I know you've been waiting a long time to give some shout-outs, so here you go. What you got?
Yeah, Check Flag PC, Kirkwood Enterprises, T.N.T. Firearms. We got Patriot Media Marketing and Mod Chaser Mitch. That's pretty much it.
All right, that's race winner Jason Stewart finally breaking through and getting it done. Congratulations, Jason.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for the good show. I'll look forward to watching it tomorrow.
I'll tell you what, Greg, that number one machine of Jason Stewart, you know, we didn't have our eyes on him all too much until we realized that man right there has a winning strategy, taking home the win by 16 seconds plus over the number 41 of T.N.T. What a dominating number right there on your screen. T.N.T. coming home in second, like I mentioned. Doug Mullins coming home in third. First car, 1 lap down. Will Worcester coming home in fourth. He led the most laps here tonight. Richard Fletcher, he was on the same strategy as T.N.T. He walks away with a top 5. Great job for the Will Worcester Racing number 43. Larry Orn walks away with the 6th place finish here tonight. Alan Young in the number 24 machine comes home in 7th. Tyler Seville was trying to chase down Stephen Hollingsworth for the points lead here tonight. He will pick up a couple of points on the 202, who had an early race accident. Ed Bray comes home in 9th, 7 laps down. And then Stephen Hollingsworth, after making heavy contact with the inside wall after blowing a right front tire, he will finish down in the 10th position there, Greg.
And drivers who rounded out the field, all 3 of them having some issues throughout the day. We saw AJ Green in the 3, Lee Staples in the 26, and Jordan Berry in the 31. Unfortunately, all post DNFs after their issues throughout the day. But Peter, it took us a little bit to get the green flag laps clicking, but once we did, it turned into a great show here at Darlington this evening.
And, you know, that's the second race in a row here in the American Sim Racing Series that we've seen that. We saw that this past Tuesday night at Richmond Raceway in the Hacksaw PC's Premier Cup Series. If you guys did not see that race, make sure you check that one out, because that was a spectacular race. Definitely kind of like tonight. Had us on the edge of our seats, had us guessing all the way towards the checkered flag. If you guys liked tonight's race video, make sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button as well while you're at it. But Greg, I'll tell you what, a couple weeks time, we're back at Michigan. You guys won't want to miss that one. And I'm looking forward to that racetrack. Like you said, it's the Chevy versus Ford battleground.
Yeah, the Michigan International Speedway in the 80s was always circled on the drivers' calendars, one of the most anticipated races of the season, because they knew that was the manufacturer's battleground right there. Ford and Chevy plants at the time were located just miles from the track. So a lot of Ford employees, a lot of Chevy employees were there. No doubt the virtual Ford and Chevy employees will be there because, of course, in the iRacing server, all the factories are still located there in Michigan. So all the factory workers there will be in attendance for this race, and they're looking forward to seeing these old retro cars battle it out, and I know we're excited to be bringing it to you.
Absolutely, that we are. Got to give a huge shout out to our friends over at SimTV for the camera angles, as well as several of the league sponsors, including Hacksaw PCs, American Regardless, among others. Of course, Boswell's Country Roads. Got to give them a huge shout out for jumping on board and sponsoring this Thursday night Throwback Cup Series with all of these throwback machines. Make sure you check them out if you're in the market for a Harley Davidson. That's where you should go, even if you need a little bit of Harley Davidson apparel. They got your hookup. But for myself, Peter Short, Carlos Costa, who mans these cameras each and every week, and Mr. Greg Rentz, we'll see you guys 2 weeks here for more 87 action at the Michigan International Speedway. But for now, we would bid you guys good night. We'll see you then. See ya!